Okay, for this segment, we are going to cover a Comic-Con checklist. These are things that you actually need to take with you to the Comic-Con on the day of the event. But planning for Comic-Con starts well in advance, and so the first thing you have to worry about is getting things made that have the logo on it that you want to have. For example, a church T-shirt. If you're going to have shirts for your volunteers, then you have to design these ahead of in advance. You have to put in the order. You have to give them time to make them. You have to have time for the shipping to get there. And if you wait until the last minute, of course, all the costs go up. You want to do this well in advance so that your costs are the least, and we're responsible with the Lord's money. So these are also, in addition to things like T-shirts, a lot of these are items to give away at the cons. You have to get these in advance. So the list would include things like cups, pens, bumper stickers, keychains, kids stuff that you might put down into cups, like coloring books and crayons. All this stuff is ordered in advance. And of course, with volunteer T-shirts, also you have to know the sizes of the shirts to order. So these things take a little time to get together. But those are items to order, and that's way ahead of time. Another thing you have to worry about ahead of time is if you have literature that needs to be printed up. Just check your stock to see if you have enough. These would be things like business cards or the brochures. People that don't have time to talk or don't desire to talk to you in person, you want to have something to give them that they can take and read more about later or be able to contact you back. So that would be your literature, your items that are you have a stock of those. And then there's also some durable goods, items that you have made up once, you're going to use again and again. You need to make sure you have those on hand and they're in good order. This would be like the tablecloth that goes on the table in your booth, or display stands for photos, for stands for literature and that sort of thing. You can get those at places like Staples or Office Depot. Okay, also on the day of event, you want to think about taking things with you that you're going to need just on a personal level. For example, make sure you take your cell phone. Don't forget that, like I do sometimes. And take a phone charger, because it's great to have a cell phone unless the battery's dead, and then it's not very helpful. So take your phone charger with you. You might want to consider taking a change of clothes just in case you are having a snack and you spill it all over you. Have that shirt in the car that you can change into, and that's always a good idea. When you are at the con, you and your other volunteers are going to be hungry. So you might order a pizza, and then you get back, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do, just hold this in my hand? You want to have things like paper plates, plastic utensils, some napkins, maybe a roll of paper towels, and just have those handy. You may not use them, you may not need them, but if you need them and don't have them, that's not a good thing. So we usually carry some of those with us when we go to cons. You might go into a con in the morning and it's nice and sunny and dry, and by the afternoon it's pouring the rain. You want to make sure to have a hat or an umbrella. Maybe even consider tucking in a raincoat. If you're trying to load out and it's raining, and it's a lot more pleasant if you have the right gear for weather. A jacket also. Now, it's not just for wearing outside, especially for the ladies. Sometimes these venues, they feel great for me, but you might think they're cold. And so a jacket you might want to take into the event just to be able to wear during the daytime if you get a little chilly. So those are personal items. Make sure you think about those and lay them out the night before or something before you go to a con. If you're dressing up in cosplay, make sure that you've got all the parts and pieces to your outfit. Lay them out again the night before, have them ready so that when you're ready to go, you're probably not going to go to the con already dressed in your outfit, because there's some work to do ahead of time to get the table set up and the booth set up and so on. So make sure that you take all your cosplay items and repair items. So if something breaks on your outfit, have that roll of duct tape handy, whatever is appropriate. Maybe needle and thread or whatever might be helpful. Safety pins are a good thing to have on hand. And then finally, when you're loading in and loading out, you're going to need to have some transport to carry these items. They can be heavy. You can end up with a lot of items. So you want to have a dolly or a hand truck. Some bungee cords are helpful to help strap things down so they don't fall off when you're rolling. And one last category is some items that you might need for a longer con. So, for example, for a one-day con, you're just in, you're out, and it's all in one day. But if you have a two-day con or a three-day con or potentially even longer, you might want to take some additional items. Some additional signage might be helpful. We have A-frames that we take for longer cons so that when people are wandering around, you might stand out. Maybe during a multi-day con, you're not just doing stuff in the booth, but maybe you're doing stuff outside the booth. Maybe we have a church service set up, or maybe we have a panel that we're participating in. So we might have some signage to lead them to that way, or to announce that on the first day of the con, they see the sign that you're doing something, and that's in your booth. And then the next day, you might use that very same sign outside the door of where that event is taking place. We've done that with church services. Something else you might take just on a multi-day con would be a cooler with some drinks. Again, if you're just in there for one day, you can take your cup of ice and it's going to last a good part of the day. But if you're there multiple days, then you might want to have ice for the second day or the third day. And guess what? If you don't have it in the con during the load up period on the first day, you won't be able to take it in maybe on the second day. So if you have you want to take a sandwich in, well, they'll allow that during setup and load in, but they won't allow you to take it in the second day sometimes. It just depends on the venue. So a lot of times, if it's a multi-day con, we'll take a small cooler or a medium-sized cooler. Go ahead and pack it with frozen blocks of ice so it stays cold for multiple days. And then we'll just slide that under the table where it's out of sight. In some venues, they don't want you to have your own food because they want you to buy food from the vendors that are on the show floor or that are part of the facility. But your experience will vary from venue to venue. Sometimes they care, sometimes they don't care so much. The way I look at it, especially if you have any kind of special needs, if you're on a special diet and they don't have things there that you might need, or if there's a particular kind of drink that you like and they just don't have. If you're a Coke person, they only have Pepsi, or if you're a Pepsi person, they only have Coke. That crosses some lines. So having the cooler there, if you're going to take something like that, make sure you take it in during the load-in process on the first day, because you won't be able to take anything like that in on after the show floor opens on the first day. They just don't allow that. And if you think of anything else, write it down. You might forget. But this is the checklist for the Comic-Cons, not just for the day of, but also leading up to the Comic-Con. And I just encourage you to have things ready and think about them before the day of the event.